Hello everyone, welcome back. Wishing you all a very happy new year, very happy 2026. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandna.
And I'm Samiksha Srivastava. On that note, we'll get you glimpses of New Year celebrations from across the globe. From Vladimir Putin pledging victory in Ukraine to Xi Jinping voicing his aim to unify China and Taiwan in his New Year's address. We will bring you all those highlights on the show today.
Also on World DNA, President Trump has announced the withdrawal of National Guard troops from Chicago, Los Angeles and Portland, citing reduced crime rates. We'll bring you that and a lot more, and New Year celebrations as they continue around the world. Let's start with the headlines first.
Nations across the world welcome the new year. Fireworks and light shows mark the arrival of 2026 in spectacular fashion.
Ukraine welcomes the new year with few festivities as power shortages continue. At Kiev's iconic Independence Square, lights dimmed as the clock hits midnight.
US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says President Trump's advisors held talks with Ukraine's Zelensky and national security advisors from the UK, France and Germany to discuss the next steps in ending Russia's war in Ukraine.
US forces carry out strikes against 3 more vessels suspected of narco trafficking. US Southern Command says at least 3 people killed in these strikes while several others jumped overboard.
President Donald Trump says he is pausing his push to deploy National Guard forces to American cities including Chicago, Los Angeles and Portland. This comes amid recent legal setbacks over the developments.
Demonstrators attack a government building in southern Iran as protests continue for the 4th day.
At least 7 persons have died due to diarrhea and vomiting after allegedly consuming contaminated water in India's Indore city.
US stocks inch lower in final trading session of 2025 as investors book profits and pause after recent gains. However, the S&P 500, Dow and Nasdaq all end the year with double-digit gains in 2025, their 3rd consecutive year in the green. And as we welcome 2026, the world is bursting with celebrations, from traditional bell-tolling ceremonies in South Korea to fireworks lighting up sky above the world's tallest building in the UAE. Countries around the globe are ushering the new year with flair and excitement. Take a look.
Shifting focus then, latest on US-Venezuela tensions. The US forces carried out strikes against 3 more vessels suspected of narco-trafficking.
US Southern Command said that at least 3 people were killed in these strikes while several others jumped overboard. The US Southern Command also said that these vessels were traveling as a convoy. It claimed that these vessels were operated by designated terrorist organizations in international waters, and intelligence confirmed that these vessels were transiting along known narco-trafficking routes and had transferred narcotics between the 3 vessels prior to the strikes. The first strike killed 3 people aboard one of the vessels, and those on the other boats jumped overboard and distanced themselves before follow-on strikes sank the other 2 vessels.
Well, the military said that it had notified the Coast Guard to activate the search and rescue systems, and that is without offering, while it offered little details about the fate of those aboard the other boats. In fact, since the month of September, the US military has carried out more than 30 such strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats. However, it has not provided any concrete evidence that the targeted boats are involved in drug trafficking.
Now, these strikes are seen as part of US President Donald Trump's pressure campaign against Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Trump has accused Maduro of running a drug cartel.
Maduro has denied the allegation and has accused Washington of what he calls seeking regime change to gain access to his country's massive oil reserves.
On Wednesday, the US also announced sanctions on 4 companies over their operations in Venezuela's oil sector. The US Treasury Department also identified 4 related oil tankers as blocked property. Trump has declared a blockade of sanctioned oil vessels sailing to and from the South American country. Protests in Iran are getting bigger, are spreading more, with people taking to the streets now for 4 straight days.
That's right, Shivan. Iranians are protesting against soaring inflation in the country. In fact, water and power shortages are among the issues for which people in Iran have been protesting.
Now, a government building in southern Iran was attacked on Wednesday. Eyewitness videos released showed protesters trying to access a building in Fars province. Authorities confirmed that a portion of the provincial governor's office door and its glass were destroyed.
Another footage showed protesters clashing with security forces in the western city of Hamidan. Earlier, Iran's prosecutor general had warned that any attempt to create insecurity would be met with a decisive response. In capital Tehran, authorities even announced a bank holiday, with schools, banks and public institutions that were shut, with officials saying the directive was due to the cold weather and the need to save energy.
Protests began on Sunday in Tehran's largest mobile phone market, where shopkeepers shuttered their businesses. The rallies have since built momentum, with students at 10 universities in the capital and in other cities joining in on Tuesday. Government has appointed a new governor to the central bank after the former resigned following a record currency fall against the US dollar.
Well, the currency has lost more than a third of its value against US dollars since last year. $1 US is worth over 42,125 riyal recently. The inflation rate in the month of December jumped to as much as 42.2%, which is 1.8% higher than the month of November. Food prices have also risen significantly by as much as 72%, and medical items are up by 50% compared to December last year. Now, Yemen's civil war has entered a fresh stage of escalation.
Saudi Arabia's bombing of a southern port city of Mukalla has sparked regional tensions. What Saudi Arabia, Iran and United Arab Emirates are doing in Yemen, that remains a question. And how the regional power play is affecting the war-torn country, that is the next big question. Let's break it down for you one by one. Yemen's civil war is a complex interplay of control and geopolitical influence that moves beyond the country's borders. Saudi Arabia backs Yemeni military, the legitimate army of Yemen and its government, and that is supported by a local tribal coalition. Houthis are backed by Iran, and the Houthis control the capital of Yemen, that is Sana'a. Then comes the United Arab Emirates, that is backing Southern Transitional Council, that is the STC, that controls large swathes of territory in south of Yemen.
Also, the fresh escalation puts two Gulf heavyweights against each other. Saudi Arabia's strikes hit weapon shipment from the United Arab Emirates that arrived for Southern Transitional Council. UAE also maintains a military presence in the area controlled by the STC, but it has decided to withdraw the forces after Saudi-backed group issued an ultimatum on the same.
In a lightning advance, STC forces have captured large territory from Saudi-backed forces. They are now demanding an independent state in the south.
Hundreds of people marched down the streets of Aden. They were holding flags of South Yemen and UAE. The chants and slogans called for self-determination and the declaration of a southern state.
The war in Yemen began in 2014 when Iran-backed Houthis marched from their northern stronghold of Sada. They took control of Sana'a in swift advance and forced the internationally recognized government into exile. Following this, Saudi Arabia and the UAE entered the war in an attempt to restore the government, but now the regional forces that aimed to overthrow the Houthis are up against each other. Well, it is a new year, 2026, but not much seems to have changed for Ukraine and, of course, Russia.
That's right, Shivan. Both Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky have used their traditional New Year's address, and that is to project a united front in their respective countries. This comes as both sides continue to trade blows on the battle lines as well as on the diplomatic ground.
What you just heard are air raid sirens sounding in Kiev just ahead of ringing in the new year. Much of the city spent the moment in darkness as power shortages continue to cripple much of the life in the capital and other areas. As the clock hit midnight, lights were dimmed and an eerie silence surrounded Kiev's iconic Independence Square.
And in his New Year address to the nation, President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukraine wants the war to end, but not at any cost, adding that he would not sign a weak peace agreement that would only prolong the ongoing war.
What does Ukraine want? Peace? Yes. At any cost? No. We want the end of the war, not the end of Ukraine. Are we tired? Extremely. Does that mean we are ready to surrender? Those who think so are deeply mistaken.
The Russian president used his annual televised New Year's address to rally his troops fighting in Ukraine, saying he believed in them and in victory in the war. He paid tribute in particular to his forces fighting in Ukraine, calling them heroes.
You have taken on the responsibility to fight for your native land, for truth and justice. Millions of people across Russia, I assure you, are with you on this New Year's Eve. They are thinking of you, empathizing with you, hoping for you. We are united in our sincere, selfless, and devoted love for Russia. I congratulate all our soldiers and commanders on the coming new year. We believe in you and our victory.
US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has said that President Trump's advisors held talks with Zelensky and national security advisors from the UK, France and Germany to discuss the next steps in ending Russia's war in Ukraine. Now, Britain's Queen has recalled a tragic account from her personal life in an interview.
During a discussion with BBC Radio, Queen Camilla spoke about her first time and her first experience of physical assault as a teenager. The Queen recalled how furious she was when the incident took place. The assault was first reported in September, but there was no confirmation by the Buckingham Palace.
I remember something that had been lurking in the back of my brain for a very long time, that when I was a teenager, I was attacked on a train. And I'd sort of forgotten about it, but I remember at the time being so angry. It was anger, and I thought, why is this? Well, it was sort of boy. I thought it was an old man, was probably not a great deal older than me, but and I think...
And attacked in what way?
On a train.
You were on a train?
On a train.
Queen Kamala spoke about her personal account as part of a discussion on violence against women. The panel included former British Prime Minister Theresa May and BBC Sports commentator John Hunt, whose wife and 2 daughters were killed by one of his daughter's ex-partners.
Somebody I didn't know, I was reading my book, and this man attacked me, and I did fight back, and I got off. I remember getting off the train, and my mother looking at me and saying, why is your hair standing on end, and why is the button missing from your coat?
The discussion comes at the backdrop of rising cases of abuse against women in the country. The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer himself has declared violence against women a national emergency. Data suggests that cases of sexual assault, especially among teenagers, are rising in the country.
Well, the crime survey for England and Wales estimated that 1.9% of people, in which 3% of people and 0.7% of males aged 16 years and over were victims of sexual assault in year ending March 2025. This roughly translates to around 900,000 people, 900,000 females and 1,600 males for victims who had experienced rape or assault, were assaulted by a partner or ex-partner, and around 1 in 7, that is 14.7%, reported the most recent assault to the police.
We now shift focus to the African continent. Mali and Burkina Faso have announced travel restrictions on American nationals after the United States included both African countries on a no-entry list.
That's right, Shivan. President Donald Trump has long campaigned to restrict immigration, expanded his travel ban by barring people from 7 more countries. The list included Syrian citizens as well as Palestinian Authority passport holders and nationals of some of Africa's poorest countries, including Niger and South Sudan as well.
The move brought the number of countries whose citizens face travel restrictions to US to 40. Following Trump's move, Mali and Burkina Faso, where both countries have seen military coups recently, they've announced equivalent measures on US citizens in a tit-for-tat move.
Well, Cambodia's classical dance, Khmer, is under threat. That was once known for its graceful hand gestures and stunning costumes, is now under threat from a changing media and entertainment landscape.
And not just that, also from its limited funding and economic challenges. The classical dance has a 1,000-year history. It was nearly destroyed when the Khmer Rouge killed almost all the master dancers and musicians. Nearly 2 million were murdered, or they died of starvation, illness or overwork during the regime's less than 4 years in power.
But in 2003, UNESCO proclaimed proclaimed it to be an intangible cultural heritage, saying that it takes dancers years of intensive training to master its gestures and poses and evoke the gamut of human emotions from fear and rage to love and joy. It, however, warned that the dance form risks becoming a mere tourist attraction.
Now I am worried that it will disappear, so I keep coming to help students so that this art form will remain. I keep telling these students to try their best because I barely raise my hands and legs now.
The dance form requires intensive training as well as patience. Pupils attend dance classes in the mornings and following the standard school curriculum in the afternoons. But trainers say that they expect many students to drop out due to educational demands and financial pressures on their families. though many students are passionate about the dance and want to preserve it.
Because of my passion, I want to be a next dancer and to preserve this culture. This culture is really beautiful and I love it. I want to continue and preserve it. That's why I have been training this dance so far.
And even as the VBG Ramji bill has become a law in India after presidential assent, the controversy over this act continues.
Well, in the latest face-off, that is between the opposition and the ruling dispensation, Siddaramaiah, the Chief Minister of Karnataka, that is, has called for suspending the implementation of this law. The Karnataka Chief Minister made this demand in a letter that was sent to Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday. As per the Chief Minister, the new law defeats the very intent of the original employment guarantee, which was a demand-driven and rights-based entitlement. The Chief Minister flagged the fact that the centre will make a predetermined allocation to a state government, which he says undermines the guarantee of providing 125 days of work. Moreover, the provision to notify a 60-day period where work cannot be undertaken also drew his ire.
He opined that this will reduce the window in which households can demand employment, thereby deepening livelihood insecurity. The Karnataka Chief Minister also objected to the hurried enforcement of the act. He stressed that cooperative federalism is violated when no discussion takes place with state governments. He also expressed umbrage at dropping Mahatma Gandhi's name from this law.
Well, the VBG Ramji law was passed in the winter session of India's parliament, which enhances the statutory wage employment guarantee to 125 days for rural households per year. It also increases safeguards involved in the original employment guarantee scheme and wage payment. The bill saw vociferous opposition in both houses of the parliament, with the members seeking its examination by a joint parliamentary panel. Well, for now, we head into a very short break on World DNA. Lots coming up. One of the top stories that we are tracking after this break, at least 7 people, including a 6-month child, as they've died in Indore, that is, in the state of Madhya Pradesh.
Also on the other side, Nvidia is sounding out Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, on a new order for its H200 artificial intelligence chips. According to reports, Nvidia is scrambling to meet strong Chinese demand for these processors. We'll bring you the latest. Stay with us.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS Centenary Year, Kesariya at 100.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime is your front row seat to darkness.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RS's centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime is your front row seat to darkness.
Vielleicht nur als Imposant.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Samiksha. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines at this hour.
Nations across the world welcome the new year. Fireworks and light shows mark the arrival of 2026 in spectacular fashion.
前行的力量。 探索与前行的力量。
Ukraine welcomes New Year with few festivities as power shortages continue. At Kiev's iconic Independence Square, lights dimmed as the clock hits midnight.
US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says President Trump's advisors held talks with Ukraine's Zelensky and national security advisors from the UK, France and Germany to discuss the next steps in ending Russia's war in Ukraine.
US forces carry out strikes against more vessels suspected of narco trafficking. US Southern Command says at least 8 people were killed in 2 separate strikes.
President Donald Trump says he is pausing his push to deploy National Guard forces to American cities, including Chicago, Los Angeles and Portland, which comes amid recent legal setbacks over the developments.
Demonstrators attack a government building in southern Iran as protests continue for the 4th day.
At least 7 persons have died due to diarrhea and vomiting after allegedly consuming contaminated water in India's Indore city.
US stocks inched lower in final trading session of 2025 as investors book profits and pause after recent gains. However, the S&P 500, Dow and Nasdaq all end the year with double-digit gains in 2025, their 3rd consecutive year in the green.
Well, we begin this edition with news that we are tracking from the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh in Indore, where 7 people, including a 6-month-old child, have died, and this is over 200, while over 200 others have taken ill after consuming contaminated water.
Now, this water was supplied by the municipal corporation. Chief Minister Mohan Yadav has termed this incident extremely tragic and announced financial assistance of 2 lakh rupees each to the families of the deceased and free treatment for all affected. But that's not the bigger issue here. According to reports, the contamination point was identified near the Bhagirathpur police checkpost, where a newly constructed toilet was dumping its waste in a sinkhole instead of a proper septic tank. The sinkhole was exactly above the water supply line, which had a joint.
Well, 60% of the area was reportedly getting pure water, and in the remaining 40% of the area, new lines are being installed. Earlier in the day, Mohan Yadav visited multiple hospitals and met patients undergoing treatment. The Chief Minister said that a thorough investigation would also be carried out in the matter, ensuring that his government would not tolerate any negligence, especially in areas with complaints related to water supply.
2 officials have been suspended, while 1 has been dismissed from service. Additionally, a 3-member committee has also been constituted to investigate the entire matter. India showcased its defence prowess yet again. The country's Defence Research and Development Organisation, DRDO, successfully conducted the salvo launch of 2 Pralay missiles.
This comes days after the successful maiden flight test of the Pinaka long-range guided rocket 2. The Pralay missiles were launched in quick succession from the same launcher at the integrated test range in Chandipur off the coast of the Indian state of Odisha. The test was conducted as part of user evaluation trials. Both missiles followed the intended trajectory and met all objectives too.
Reacting to this, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh complimented the DRDO and the armed forces. He stressed that the successful completion of the salvo launch has established the reliability of this surface-to-surface short-range missile.
Developed by various DRDO labs, Pralay is a quasi-ballistic missile which has a low trajectory and can maneuver in flight. It is powered by an engine which uses fuel and oxidizer too, capable of carrying multiple types of warheads and employs state-of-the-art navigation to ensure high precision of hitting targets.
+1, +2, +3 and counting up.
6.1 with the capacity to hit targets up to 500 kilometers away. The missile can carry warheads of 350 to 1,000 kilograms.
December 2021 marked the maiden flight test of this missile. It was successfully test-fired 2 years later. In the month of July this year, 2 consecutive flight tests of Pralay were successfully conducted. Now, tensions continue to mount in Bolivia, where the government's decision to abolish fuel subsidies has angered the working class.
Sporadic protests are taking place in the capital. People are demanding Rodrigo Paz to revoke the decree. Bolivia's capital, La Paz, is witnessing a bitter showdown between police and the protesters. The protesters are primarily leading these protests, which are led by miners who are most affected by shot-up price increases. Police launched tear gas and rubber bullets on the angry crowd, and the clashes took place at the city's iconic Murillo Square, where miners are marching. They were marching down the streets wearing red helmets, a core symbol of the mining unions.
These police are repressing us. They have no compassion. Children are coming. And the unfortunate thing is that they don't consider the consequences. They are throwing gas at anyone. They don't consider the consequences.
Miners have vowed to continue the fight against revocation of fuel subsidies. The subsidies kept fuel prices in Bolivia far below international levels. The move has doubled gasoline prices and tripled diesel costs, sparking anger among unions and transport workers. The president has defended the decree as necessary to ease fiscal pressure on the state.
Rodrigo Paz took over the reins of Bolivia in November from outgoing leftist President Luis Arce. President campaigned on capitalism for all, but a new president's measures are sparking anger on the streets. The Republic of Congo is heading for presidential elections in March this year.
And one person, Denis Sassou Nguesso, has been holding the reins of power as a president since 28 years. This arrangement can potentially extend to 2031 too, as his party, which is the PCT, has renominated him for another term. This decision was taken in a 3-day conference of PCT, which was attended by over 3,000 people.
Now, let's take a close look at Denis Sassou Nguesso's background. Born in Edo town in 1943, he joined the army in 1960 and received military training in France as well as Algeria. He initially joined the cabinet as defense minister in 1975. 4 years later, he became the president, and for the first time, that's the year he became president and ruled till 1992. While he lost the next election to Pascal Lissouba, Sassou Nguesso he came back to power after overthrowing Lissouba following a civil war. Since then, he won presidential elections in 2002, 2009, 2016 and then again in 2021.
Under Sassou Nguesso's leadership, his country has made some progress in areas like infrastructure and even agricultural sector. However, his long tenure has come under intense criticism for graft allegations, widespread poverty and the monopoly of his party over various organs of the state.
An opposition alliance formed in 2023 is challenging Sassou Nguesso's hegemony. 3 parties, Rally for Democracy and Development, Republicans Movement and People's Party, joined hands to form the Alliance for Democratic Change in 2026.
They are seeking to overhaul the country's electoral body, but considering that the 82-year-old president has ruled for over 40 years and secured over 88% of the popular vote in 2021 election, the upcoming presidential election will be closely watched out for. And shifting focus to the world of business then, after a year marked by volatility, shifting policies and rapid innovation, the focus is now turning to where growth will emerge next.
From breakthrough technologies to changing global priorities, key industries are positioning for the year ahead, 2026, which is now upon us. Here's a closer look at the sectors set to shape the global economy this year. Take a look.
As markets look beyond a volatile 2025, one question dominates investor thinking. Which industries will lead the global economy in 2026? Despite bubble concerns of popping up in the latter half of 2025, artificial intelligence is still the top bet heading into 2026. Technology powered by AI is expected to remain the primary driver of earnings growth next year. Investment banks and strategists broadly agree that AI adoption across industries is becoming structural, not speculative. Spending on cloud computing, semiconductors, data centers, and automation tools continue to accelerate. Meanwhile, renewable energy is no longer a side project. Solar, wind, green hydrogen, and energy storage investments by companies are shaping a sustainable economy, creating jobs and driving innovation. At the same time, healthcare and biotech are accelerating. AI-driven diagnostics, mRNA therapies, and personalized medicine promise both stability and high growth in a post-pandemic world. Global defense spending is surging to levels unseen since the Cold War. Europe is leading with multi-billion euro modernization programs, while Asia-Pacific is expanding its capabilities with rapid investments in drones, hypersonics, and satellites. Companies are seeing record order books benefiting from a structural multi-year spending cycle. Unlike past cycles, the wave is technology-led, benefiting defense electronics, space-based surveillance, UAVs, and systems integration. In fintech and digital banking, traditional models are being rewritten. Platforms like UPI are reshaping payments, investments, and lending worldwide. The global fintech market is expected to surpass $324 billion by 2026, making digital finance a critical growth engine. But not all industries are set to shine. Traditional food and beverage producers face margin pressure from falling commodity prices. Oil and gas may see revenue headwinds amid softer price forecasts. Parts of consumer tech face slower growth due to rising component costs and market saturation. The big theme for 2026 is polarization. AI-led technology, defense, and healthcare are positioned to outperform, while sectors that fail to adapt to automation or changing consumer behavior risk being sidelined in the next phase of global growth.
India reached a major economic milestone in 2025. India overtook Japan to become the world's fourth largest economy.
Also, according to figures, that is from New Delhi's latest end-of-year economic review, that is, the development, the data reflects, it shows several years of strong growth and places India behind only the United States, China and Germany in overall economic size. India's gross domestic product, the GDP, is now estimated at about $4.18 trillion and is projected to rise sharply over the coming decade, potentially exceeding $7 trillion by 2030. If current trends continue, India is expected to surpass Germany within the next few years, moving into third place across the globe.
International institutions, including the IMF, broadly aligned with this outlook, though final confirmation will depend on official GDP data released in 2026. The economy has been expanding faster than anticipated, with growth accelerating through 2025. Strong domestic demand has played a central role, supported by rising private consumption, healthier corporate balance sheets, steady credit growth, and ongoing structural reforms.
Export performance has also improved, particularly in engineering goods, electronics, pharmaceuticals, and petroleum products, adding momentum despite global trade uncertainty. India's growth comes alongside low inflation by recent standards, creating a rare combination of economic stability and expansion as a whole.
Now, the global community has acknowledged India's growth curve as the country's medium-term prospects stay resilient. India is positioning itself as a key engine of global growth at a time when many economies face trade resets and economic stagnation.
However, challenges still remain. India's income per capita is still far below that of advanced economies, which highlights the gap between total economic size and individual prosperity. Demographics add both opportunity and pressure, as a large share of the population is young and entering into workforce, creating enough productive, well-paid jobs that will be critical to sustaining growth in the country. Currency pressures and trade uncertainties also pose significant risks. However, India's ascent to fourth place in 2025 marks a significant shift in global economic landscape. Well, Nvidia is sounding out Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company, or TSMC, on a new order for its H200 artificial intel chips.
Now, as demand from Chinese technology firms surges following recent US export approvals, this has been the latest that has come out. According to a Reuters report, Nvidia is scrambling to meet strong Chinese demand for its H200 AI processors and has approached TSMC to ramp up production. Chinese technology companies have placed orders for more than 2 million H200 chips for delivery in 2026, while Nvidia currently holds around 700,000 units in inventory. The exact size of the additional order remains unclear.
But the report stated that Nvidia has asked TSMC to begin producing extra chips, with work expected to start in the second quarter of 2026. The development has raised concerns about a potential tightening of global AI chip supplies, as Nvidia balances strong Chinese demand against constrained supply in other markets. The talks also highlight growing risks for Nvidia.
As China has yet to formally approve shipments of H200 chips to China, the US administration of Trump only recently cleared exports of the H200 to China, ending months of uncertainty over sales of advanced AI processors. The potential order would mark a significant expansion of the production of H200 chips.
Even as Nvidia focuses on scaling up its newer Blackwell chips and its upcoming Rubin platform too, the H200 is part of Nvidia's previous generation Hopper architecture and is manufactured using TSMC's 4-nanometer process. Nvidia has said that it continuously manages its supply chains, adding that licensed sales of H200 chips to authorized Chinese customers will not impact supplies to the US.
And in sports, tennis stars took some time off ahead of the United Cup, which begins in Perth and Sydney.
The tournament serves as preparation for the first Grand Slam of the year, the Australian Open, that is. Team Canada and Team China players, including Felix Auger, Alice Seme and Shang Zhengzhen, visited a zoo in Sydney before the start of the United Cup campaign.
Now, the players were seen feeding koalas and kangaroos at Sydney Zoo. Meanwhile, Team Great Britain and Team Japan visited the famous quokkas on Australia's Rottnest Island. Emma Raducanu is now the only top 100 singles player representing Great Britain after Jack Draper was forced to withdraw from the competition due to an arm injury. Draper has been replaced by Billy Harris. Britain will face Argentina in their opening tie, while Japan will begin its Group E campaign on Friday.
I mean, obviously we would love to have him in the team. He's such an integral part of British tennis, and it would have been great to have him here. But we just wish him all the best, and as his teammates, we can just hope he gets better soon so he can join us for the future events.
Elsewhere, Norway captain Kasper Ruud was spotted surfing during his downtime. Norway will open its United Cup campaign against hosts Australia on the 3rd of January before facing Czechia in Group D. World number 12, Ruud, said that he feels energized and recharged for the new season and is ready to challenge the dominance of world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz and world number 2 Yannick Sinner.
So I feel really refreshed and recharged, and I have coming here to Australia with more kind of motivation than maybe what I did last year, and I really look forward to this year. I mean, it's going to be a really fun year for tennis. I think not just for me but everyone, to see how, if anyone can challenge, the top two guys on the men's tour, and who can win the slams. And last year we saw a bunch of new first-time Masters 1000 champions, so let's see if anyone can bring it up to the slam level as well.
Well, the hype for Avengers Doomsday has reached a fever pitch as the Marvel Cinematic Universe attempts its most ambitious course correction yet.
They're going to be reuniting the Russo brothers with the heavy hitters of the Infinity Saga. The studio is betting big on a return to the structural precision that made Endgame, which came in 2019, a global phenomenon. However, as the cast list expands to include multiversal variants and cosmic newcomers, the absence of certain pillars remains the industry's biggest talking point. As the Marvel Cinematic Universe approaches its most pivotal crossroads since the snap, the atmosphere surrounding Avengers Doomsday is a volatile mix of high-stakes nostalgia and creative skepticism, with the recent official confirmation that Joe and Anthony Russo are returning to the directors' chairs alongside the original band of Avengers. The film is being positioned as a grand restoration project for a franchise that has spent years searching for its post-Endgame identity.
The Russos' return represents a break glass in case of emergency moment. Having directed the two highest grossing installments in the series, their involvement brings a sense of structural security as well. Expectations are sky high for a return to the tight character-driven storytelling of the Winter Soldier and the sheer narrative density of Infinity War 2. Well, the most significant and controversial expectation revolves around Robert Downey Jr. returning not as the armored Avenger but as the masked monarch Victor Von II.
With the official trailer, with the official teaser, that is, showing Chris Evans returning as Steve Rogers, the stakes have shifted. The expectation is no longer just about who shows up, but how the Russos will balance the legacy of the old guard with the current leaders. Despite the homecoming of Downey, Evans and Hemsworth, there is a palpable void in the ensemble that no amount of multiversal variants seems to be able to fill. While the film promises to be a dream team-up involving the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, the definitive nature of the Soul Stone sacrifice continues to haunt the production.
Well, Scarlett Johansson has been remarkably blunt in recent interviews, reminding the public that Natasha is dead and that her story reached its completion. With the multiverse offers a million loopholes, but the actor and the studio seem hesitant to undo the one death. Despite the sweeping return of the original icons, the reunion feels fundamentally fractured for many.
Let's go right here. Yes, come on. There it is. Almost.
Scarlett, can we get a bag? Scarlett right here.
Scarlett, you can turn it.
Scarlett, the lights better.
Yeah, keep turning.
Once again, wishing all our viewers a very happy new year. That's a wrap on World DNA, but stay with us. Short break now. News and updates continue on the other side.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders, psychopaths,